Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 4, Destroy Malevolence is one of those episodes that leaves me with very mixed tastes in my mouth. Most of my complaints have to do with the fact that we're dealing with characters that will survive the Clone Wars, and we know they have to because of the movies. We're not dealing with characters that aren't really attached, and since there's no clones, we don't even have to worry about them getting bitten, biting the dust today, because the only ones we see are in the ships. All the real action takes place on the Malevolence as Anakin and Obi-Wan mount a daring rescue mission to save Padme as she's sucked in by a tractor beam onto after she's sent on a secret mission to negotiate a treaty with the banking clan, who may be wishing to pull out of the Separatist alliance, I guess. But that was just a trap meant to get her on the ship, Malevolence, so they can use her as a bargaining chip, so the Jedi don't take out the Malevolence before they can get back into safe space. Which basically means the episode spends most of its time with people running around in a ship, which we know must be destroyed, with characters we know must survive, which makes it very hard for me to suspend any suspension of disbelief and believe they're actually in danger. I guess you can argue it's my knowledge outside of the episode itself that's ruining the episode, because I think the build-up is alright. I mean, and the characters do have some fun with it, with their sarcastic quips, but I then have to have the droids running around that still have to act like comedic relief. They're battle droids. I shouldn't be trying to laugh at them. The best scene of this probably comes when Padme gets first captured and she blows up her own ship as an effort to escape, as a distraction as she tries to run around as a stowaway. You get to watch the old trips on the hose, then gets launched by the hose routine. And it's just not that funny. Not to mention it doesn't make much sense, in some regards anyway. How powerful are those hoses? And how strong would those droids have to be? I mean, they're made out of metal. You'd think they'd be heavy, so heavy it'd be hard to lift them with that sort of technique. I mean, I guess you can lift a car up with a bunch of hoses if you position them correctly, but it still takes a lot of water to do it. And even then, you think the droids would be designed to be effective firefighters. I mean, how hard could it be in this technologically advanced era that they have in Star Wars? It just bugs me a lot. I guess the overall episode, though, is okay. It's not really any worse than what we've had so far, but at the same time, it shows a problem that the series is just very mindlessly dumb action right now. And while that might work for most cartoons, we're dealing with Star Wars, a series that, while dumb in some regards, and obviously lives from countless other stories and sources, like westerns, sci-fi, fantasy, adventure. I mean, it has all the classic elements of old stories, yet none of this makes you think, nor does it feel grandiose right now. Like, I need a big adventure that I already can't figure out the end result, which is difficult with this series as it is right now. It especially doesn't help that it keeps relying on characters that we know must make it through the war, and we just know what their fates are, ultimately, except for Ahsoka, who's been a minimalist character so far. She hasn't been treated as the breakout character. Instead, we're spending most of our time with Anakin and Obi-Wan, who aren't that interesting in some regards. Obi-Wan has the sarcastic quips, Anakin has the ridiculous, reckless plans, but his reckless plans are not going to kill him, nor are they really going to harm him that much, so why should I care? In fact, the people that usually pay for Anakin's reckless plans are his men, which makes you wonder why they're so loyal to him, because he's the one. He almost gets more of them killed than the enemy does, because he tends to play such a risky offensive strategy. I mean, we saw this in the movie where Ahsoka points out that they could move the clone troopers back a bit so they have better cover, and Anakin wants them up front closer so to the action, where they're at higher risk of being shot. I guess it's just this episode doesn't stand out in a good way. It doesn't do anything you weren't expecting to happen. And that makes the episode itself sort of boring, even when the fights are interesting. well, I guess they're not interesting, but you got the cool Star Force powers, and you got the lightsabers. But I find it hard to care because I already know what's going to happen, or at least what has to happen, in order for the story to progress as it does in canon. Which might mean they should have broken from canon entirely with Star Wars: The Clone Wars and done just their own original series of stories, or at the very least focused on other characters, which I'm still hoping they'll get to eventually. I guess I'll find out, though, as I progress. Hopefully the next episode, Rookies, will be better.
That's what you're doing with that thing.